Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator.
Introducing Bark in the Belly Premium Dog Food. 100% of profits go to help dogs in need.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Hello and welcome on in. Happy Friday from the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stuart here on Rogue Media Sports Network. We come at you live on YouTube like we are every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio. It's right here on the Wicked Boston Show. And as you just heard, I talk a lot. I talk every week, every day. Every day of the week, I'm out here talking. And I feel like, man, nobody is talking more than me except the Denver Broncos. They just keep running their mouths for this AFC Championship game. We'll take you to a soundbite in a minute. We're going to have a very special guest in just a few minutes here. 3-time Super Bowl champion, member of the Patriots all-dynasty team, Lonie Paxton, will be joining us to talk about his 2 teams that he played for in the NFL, squaring off this weekend, the Patriots and the Broncos. We'll ask about Vrabel. We'll ask about the altitude. We'll ask about the backup quarterback situation. Lonie is just a treasure trove of great Patriots lore. And then we will have our 3 keys to the game like we do every Friday. What is it that the Patriots have to do in order to be playing in 2 weeks for the Super Bowl? All that and more coming up on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart. But I want to start here like where we started yesterday. These Broncos, man, they just keep running their mouths. And it feels like an opportunity for the Patriots this weekend to really send a message to the rest of the league of like, no, remember when for like the 20 years that you guys were so afraid to talk because you knew the Patriots were coming at you? Like, that's going to be the standard again. That's what they need to set this weekend. The first couple of years of the Patriots dynasty, which maybe we'll ask Lonie about in a few minutes. Like, there was a lot of teams that were running their mouths. And then after 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, they stopped doing it. And they stopped doing it for 15 more years. The Patriots need to reestablish that. Because you had the Sean Payton thing yesterday where he says, yeah, our fans will have plenty of time to rest. 2 weeks. We're going. And now you have today John Franklin Myers talking about Jarrett Stidham and bringing Drake Maye into the fold.
Understands why the coach is calling a certain cause, and that's what makes him so good. You know, sometimes you get out there, you play football, you run what's called, you're not understanding where you want the ball to go, how fast, when, and everything. And Stiddy, man, he's running Scott team plays, and he's running them better than Dave's starting quarterback. So,
Gotcha. All right. Jarrett Stidham is running the scout team better than Drake Maye runs a game. Gotcha. That's the second time this week we've heard Jarrett Stidham compared like to like for Drake Maye. Jordan Palmer and now John Franklin Myers. Again, can Stidham go out there and beat him? Crazy things happen in the NFL. And the Broncos have a really good team outside of Jarrett Stidham. But this is made up. I'm sorry. Like, Jarrett Stidham, if Jarrett Stidham was running a scout team at the level of the NFL MVP, like an MVP kind of level, then he would be a starting quarterback in this league. And you can get under my skin doing that, but like the Patriots got to be just sitting there thinking, are these guys serious? Like, are these guys? No, we're just going to go out there and we're going to beat their ass on Sunday. And I know it's got to be not getting under their skin, but like, we got to teach these guys a lesson here. That's what we've got to do. And I think that's what it comes down to. We're going to talk about it more in our 3 keys to the game, but I think this is shaping up to be an emotional kind of game, a testy kind of game. They always mean something, right? It's the AFC Championship. Like, the pressure is there. The stakes are there. We already knew that. But for 2 teams that have not played each other this year, didn't play each other last year, I think there's going to be a lot of animosity. 2 coaches with not a lot of overlap or anything, no skeletons in the closet for these 2 teams in terms of like, old beef, Stephon Diggs or something having beef with the Broncos. Like, it's not there, but boy, the Broncos are making it. And it's almost like they are trying to convince themselves that they are confident in what Jarrett Stidham can do in this game. But like, make no mistake, man, if he pulls this off, that becomes a problem for the Patriots, for us, like the rest of our lives, we're hearing about Jarrett Stidham. Whether he even wins the Super Bowl, we're just hearing about Jarrett Stidham. It's like already, it's going to be in your nightmares if he's there. So maybe the Broncos are doing the right thing by just hyping him up. But man, it's just, there's so much uncertainty with this game. You talk about it for an entire week and you think you've just got the game figured out, but there's still so much uncertainty with Jarrett Stidham, this Broncos offense, who they even have ready at receiver. it's still such a huge question mark. Like, they don't have their playmakers. The Patriots may or may not have Mac Hollins. Neither of these teams have been particularly effective running the football in this postseason. It's going to be really, really cold. It feels like the first postseason of my lifetime where running the ball just doesn't really matter, at least so far. But who knows? Maybe that means both teams are going to run for 150 yards this weekend. Like, that's the playoffs. That's the NFL. There's still so much to figure out about this game. So let's preview it, shall we? There is no one who is going to be more invested this weekend off the field than our next guest, because I'm talking about a guy who had Rams season tickets growing up. So I think he's keeping an eye on them in the NFC. And then the two teams he played for in the NFL face off in the AFC. So without any further ado, Patriots all dynasty team member, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Lonie Paxton joins the Wicked Boston show. Lonie, how is this weekend shaping up for you?
Oh man, it's going to be a fun one. I was out at the last couple home games, and I was there supporting the team, doing some. We did a charity auction where you could come to the Hall of Fame with me and go on the sidelines, and the atmosphere was just electric. And this week I'm gonna be at home. I got some people in from Boston. I married a girl from Boston, former Patriot cheerleader. So she's got some friends, and we're just going to kick it at home. And we got a bunch of kids sports to keep us occupied in the downtimes. And then as soon as Sunday hits, we're going bananas in front of that TV.
Yeah. How did it feel to be back for those games? You get back every once in a while?
I try to come back, 3 or 4 times a year, with Vrabel coaching. I came back a few times last year for some stuff they did with Tom. Like I said, I have a charity called the High Fives Foundation. We support adaptive athletes and military, put them into programs. So we host charity events in the city. We combine that with some game experiences. I do some alumni stuff while I'm out there, and it's just good to come back and high five some of the old fans and kind of friends in the facility, Ricky at the pro shop and Nancy upstairs and, the guys on the sideline. So it's all love when I come back there. So I try to get back there as much as possible.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm really sincerely hoping that you don't ever have to buy a drink. You or anyone in your club there never have to buy a drink after 3 Super Bowls and what had come before you with the Patriots. I would hope that you don't have to.
I always offer, I always offer it, and I'll let someone else.
Well, that's good. That's classy. That's real classy. So looking ahead to this weekend, this is such a weird game to kind of look at with the whole Jarrett Stidham thing.
Right.
And the Broncos are trying to kind of hype him up as this backup who's just as good as so many starters in the NFL. What is your take on this game this weekend with the Pats going up against a career backup here?
Well, honestly, I think they're diverting from the actual story here. The story is the defense, right? Denver has a solid defense. You come into Denver's house, you play in the elevation, one of the loudest stadiums of all time. The atmosphere alone, the past Patriots record, I think I only won there one time when I was a Patriot on Monday Night Football. When
you had a big hand in that. You had
the take a safety game.
Yep.
And so like there's this kind of historical proof that the Patriots don't really play good out there, just like Miami. Like for whatever reason, those 2 locations, we always play bad. Yes, it's a backup quarterback. Yes, he has some past experiences with the Patriots organization, but it's a whole new coaching staff, whole new team on both sides. So I think it's really going to come down to obviously protecting the football, executing on 3rd down. Don't get in 3rd and long situations with the defense. I mean, all front 4 of their players have 7+ sacks. I mean, that's remarkable when you can rely on any one of those 4 or 5 guys on defense to pressure the quarterback. So the O-line's going to have to have a big game blocking on pass and run. And in these big games, in this atmosphere, in this type of moment in your football story, it sometimes can come down to 1 or 2 plays, a big special teams play, a big sack for a field position change. So look for something like that to just be a factor.
And looking at, you said you were here the last couple of weeks watching this team. I know you've been following all season long. What sticks out to you about this team? Defensively, they've been stout the last couple of weeks. It's been even taking the spotlight away from this offense, which had the spotlight all season long. What sticks out to you about this team and specifically the defensive side?
I think, you don't have any stars out there. No one that has this, that's going to be in front of the camera after every game. This perennial Pro Bowler out there. They're all a bunch of guys. It actually reminds me of like 2001 when we came off a horrible year in 2000. In '01 we brought in we brought in Vrabel, we brought in Izzo, drafted Seymour, drafted Light. Like it was a big kind of nucleus of guys that were able to stick around from to 2000. Maybe some guys, like guys like Teddy and Lawyer and Ty and then brought in new guys and kind of put this kind of team atmosphere together where there was no superstars. We had Drew, obviously, but he ended up getting hurt. So it was this a bunch of guys just doing their job and making plays and rallying around each other. And so I see that with guys that we've brought in, Landry and Spillane, and then you get Gonzalez and Jones as holdovers. Um, I just see them all stepping up when it makes sense. What scares me is some of these 3rd and 10s where they get 12 and 3rd and 15s where they get 17. Can't have that this weekend. But pressuring the quarterback, stopping the run, getting them in long yardage situations and having those DBs make some plays is what I see.
I love hearing that comparison, not only because, you guys won the Super Bowl in 2001, but it was something that I'm starting to think the last couple of weeks, that whole, like, the whole is better than the sum of its parts. It's a defensive kind of mindset. Obviously, you got the quarterback situation in the middle of the season, beginning of the season with Tom and Drew, and Drake Maye was kind of playing at an MVP level, but you are starting to see that 25 years later, like that's still the way to win in the biggest games. You got to take care of the football better than Drake has the last couple of weeks, but the blueprint is still fairly similar in there. And so that is refreshing to kind of hear because it does look like some of the teams that you played on, at least to a certain extent. Looking at the altitude and the atmosphere, because I know you just mentioned you played in a bunch. You obviously played for the Broncos for a few years as well, played some big games there. How much does the altitude play a factor for a team that has not gone out there this year?
I mean, it's a factor, but I think, teams have learned their lesson. They try to get out there on Thursday or Friday and acclimate. You're not going to acclimate to it. The best way to approach it is to just get in like a normal game and deal with it. Obviously hydrate throughout the week. Make sure you're in condition, running those extra sprints. You're gonna have the moments in the game where you're just out of air. But that's for the coaches to really, spot from the sideline, get a sub in where you can. Obviously like O-line, you can't sub, but D-line,
Right.
you can rotate guys in and out, so there's positions that just got to deal with it. Um, and it's 3 hours. It's not like you're going to get out there and adjust a couple days in advance and make it work. Just like Miami, it's going to be humid, it's going to be hot. Deal with it, fight through it. It's a couple hours of your life to make history. And the atmosphere alone is going to be enough for if you can't get ready for this game in this situation, then you shouldn't be playing. And this is to go down in history, and what a great environment to go and actually prove people wrong and turn this thing around in 12 months time.
Yeah, man. And this, I got to say, Lonnie, this means a little extra when you say it versus some other pundits because you lived it. Like you've played in these big games. You've done the turnaround. Like you've done all of that. So before I get into kind of your experience with this, I do want to ask one more thing about this current team. And that is, like, where do you see them having the biggest advantage this Sunday?
I see the run game. If they can get the two running backs going, and not try to hit the home run all the time. Just, the old kind of Josh and Brady, Charlie Weiss of just dink and dunk, hit the small receivers, in the flats, hit the tight ends, run the rock, and then play good defense and then move the field on special teams. I see that as just being, you're in the elevation. Punts and kicks are going to go farther. Your throws are going to go farther. Can we kick a long field goal going into halftime because we deferred and then come out and score again? Like those situational things, clock management all come into play. And I got the utmost confidence in Vrabes and the staff to be able to, guide these young players through those situations, and then hopefully have some of these vets step up and make those big plays.
Mm. Let's talk about Vrabes a little bit. You were obviously a teammate with him, been through quite a few trenches and foxholes with him on the way to winning 3 Super Bowls. This feels like a split answer from some of his former teammates, not in a bad way, but did you expect that Mike Vrabel would one day be a head coach in the NFL?
1,000%. I mean, I tell people this all the time. We'd be on bus 3 after the game, which was kind of the veteran bus, and we're celebrating, having sneaking a couple pops in there, and we would just be kind of, him and Tom would be kind of going back and forth as like a photographic memory of this play during the game, how we could have played it different, that defense during the game, how it could have, ran better. And this was great. Let's use that next week. And, me and Teddy and Izzo and these guys would just be sitting around like you're watching kind of like masterminds here that aren't in a coach's seat, but they know just as much, and they can regurgitate it like it just happened, and then figure out how to fix it fast or capitalize on it and do it better next time. And so we always kind of knew, and just him in general, the way he is a dad, he's always kind of coaching his kids up. Way he's when he meets your kids, or he's on the golf range, he's just trying to instruct guys all the time. You just kind of saw this. His parents are teachers. You knew that he wanted to teach and be a good mentor.
And you talk about some of like the attention to detail in there, the recall. That seems like that's where Vrabes really kind of fits the Belichick mold. The talk around here was like, oh, he's from the Belichick tree, and he's really not. He never coached under Bill. He just played under him. But it feels like that was kind of a difference that we saw this year. Have you noticed that as well? Just kind of that extra attention to detail?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way we were instructed. When you get to the league, you kind of have this influence of all these coaches throughout your experience playing football. And then when you get to that level and you get coached by Bill and the coaching staff that he brought in, you learn that there's certain things that you can control, that you can really prepare for, that may not happen every week, but they happen at some point in the season, and your preparation will make you, be able to execute when it happens. And then guys spin it into their own way, right? It's almost like this cover up tattoo, that you have all this story and this tattoo that you like, but then 10 years later, you kind of want to make it your own and change it. And that's what these guys do. And that's what Vrabel's done. And he's taken a little bit of Bill Cowher, a little bit of Ohio State, a little bit of Belichick and Romeo Crennel, Pepper Johnson, and all these guys, and then playing with the Rodney Harrisons, Willie McGinnis, Tom Brady's, Teddy Bruschi's, and packaging all the discussions that he's had with them along the way, and how he wanted to do it himself, and applied that to kind of his tattoo or his painting that he's putting on Foxborough right now.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it's not quite done. I'm hoping we got a couple more weeks to put finishing touches on that. Looking at, the way the Broncos have handled it this week. Sean Payton yesterday said his fans will have plenty of time to rest. They'll have 2 weeks. And we had John Franklin Myers today saying that Jarrett Stidham, he runs the scout team just as well as Drake Maye runs it in a game. And so there's a little bit of talking going on. And I know that was something that fueled you guys a lot during that dynasty run, that 3 and 4 years. We remember the famous story of the Philadelphia Inquirer with the parade route printed in the paper. Two-pronged question here, but how did you guys use that to fuel yourself? And do you think that Vrabel is using that this week with the team?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's these hot takes that, it's cool. It's cool for bulletin board stuff, but it ain't going to win the game for you. It's really something to light a little fire and just, use it a bit. But if you need that to motivate you for this game, then again, you're in the wrong place, the wrong profession. So they can talk all they want. We were always instructed to, don't put it on the board, put it on your pads and speak with your pads. So I know that's what Vrabel's instructing the guys to do. Like, don't be a headline. Let's be a stat line. And so we've always approached it that way.
I love that. Don't put it on the board. Put it on your pads. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so very Patriots. I do want to get into some of your career in particular. And it will be another Belichick one here. But, growing up, Lonnie, at the time that I did, in the place that I did, in the shadow of Boston, like, my dad would give me like life lessons through the Patriots, like through what you guys were doing and the preparation. And what one he had that was all about, like foresight and being bold was that Monday night in Denver. Where you guys were down late. I think it was a touchdown down late, or no, a field goal down late. And you're about to punt.
No, we were 4. We were 4
Okay,
down because a field goal would not have tied it, and 2 points would have not won it for them. So we were in this like gray area.
Yes. So you guys are about to punt from your own end zone, and everyone's so confused at what happens next. You snap the ball into the goalpost, and it's a safety. Come to find out later, that was an intentional safety. What was that like in your mind when Bill or whomever is telling you, hey, Lonnie, just throw it into row 30?
Well, that's the thing, is we had practiced that for a couple of years. You have a slow safety when you need to burn time, and then you have your fast safety when you don't want to waste any time. And so that situation called for, we want to save as much time as we had on the clock, but we're willing to give up 2 points to then, save a timeout, go down and stop them on defense. I think the big play there was the guy muffed Ken Walter's punt, and it became, or was it Ken or Josh Miller? One of my punters, but he muffed the punt. So it actually gave us, 20 more yards of field position, because if he would have caught it and ran with it, we'd have been in a different situation. So, coming off the sideline, he's like, Paxton, just throw it into the 10th row. And I was like, all right. So I always had this thing in pregame, I would snap at 10 yards, 15 yards, a couple at 20, a couple at 25, a couple at 30. I'd get back to like 32 yards. I'd do it in practice. People would gamble on how far I'd throw it into a bucket and whatnot. So we always had fun with it. So I knew I could chuck it far. I just totally spaced that, and I guess it was a perfect snap because it went straight between my legs and hit the goalpost. Everyone thought it was, a live ball, which it wasn't. It was a story on ESPN, but I just tried to throw that thing as far as possible and kill the clock.
Man, like, see, that's even better that you guys practiced it. You had a couple ready to go. Like that's the kind of life lessons I got to be ready for anything. But I do have to in there. That was some great Bill Belichick. Were there any other things that he would constantly tell you that you could do in a good Bill Belichick impression?
Oh, I mean, I don't know if this is censored or not, but
go right ahead. Anything goes.
No, I mean, Vinatieri would make big kicks, and I'm a young snapper, and funny story is when we got back from Denver that Monday, we always go stretch our legs out, and we get on the field, he pulls everyone up. He's like, all right, Paxton, do it again. And we're not running. So I get to like the 15-yard line. Of course, I missed the goalpost, and we have to run 10 striders. So everyone's like, God, they're pissed at me, like just
sounds like you got the walkthrough one right, because this was the real pressure, right?
This was the real pressure. Yeah. So and then Vinatieri, he's making his big kicks, and of course I get interviewed as the snapper, and then I'm like, I'm giving too much information, like, this is what we did, and this is how we practice, and Bill reads all the shit. So he's coming up to me, right in punt team, it's like my period in practice. It's like, he stops the drill. It's like, Paxton, what position do you play? And everyone's like looking at me. I was like, long snapper. He's like, are you a fucking kicker? I'm like, no. And everyone starts chuckling. He's like, well, speak for yourself. Shit. And he makes me take a lap, and now they don't have a snapper for the period. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll just stop commenting on anyone else but myself. And I was even scared to talk about my job.
Yeah, I bet. And that certainly led to kind of a silence coming out of Foxborough for a while for a lot of you guys. You mentioned, those big kicks. Everyone sees, Brady and Vinatieri, the two most clutch players ever for the Patriots, and all these clutch kicks from Vinatieri. But you got to get the ball there first. You're a huge part of all of this. So for you, what was the most pressure-filled kick that you had to snap for?
Oh, man, honestly, some of them in practice, you were out there and I always felt like my job was on the line every time I touched the ball. And in the game, you have pressure of people watching, you have fans in the stands, you're on TV, it's the moment in the game, which those are big moments too. But in practice, we would be out there in 10-degree weather, 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it's impossible to snap or kick. And you would get out there and you're just nervous as hell, knowing that you got about 5 or 6 of these in a row that you got to put on film and then watch later as a team. And sometimes as on punts, I'd have to throw it outside hip for it to get to the other hip because it would move about 3 feet in the air like a curveball. And this just came with practice over time. And so being that nervous in practice, you kind of get into the games. And if it's snowing, if it's windy, if it's rainy, you're like, all right, I've done this 100 times and we've watched this on film. And so those were mostly nerve wracking, but you get into these ones where you got to have it. It's a punt out of the end zone with 40 seconds left and they're coming hot and we're about to beat the Dolphins, in December of 2003. Or it's, the kicks, on Monday Night Football when, everyone's watching and it's to beat the Bears or the Broncos or these things. And you just, I always knew it was 8 yards and 15 yards for me every time. I'm just a, happy-go-lucky Cali kid. I try to just not think of the moment on TV and not think of the situation, but just, zero in on my punter's hands or my holder's hands. And we always had this mojo between us. So I almost felt like the ball was on a string. I just had to get it there.
Mm. And talking about those pressure-filled moments, you did it practice, very much a lot of pressure in there, but the Snow Bowl, Super Bowl winning kicks. Was there ever a moment for you? I know you're probably in the moment during the game, but is there ever a moment in that run where you're thinking, man, as an offensive lineman in college, I was undrafted in 2000. Patriots kind of take a chance here. Is there any of that kind of running through your head at any of these times of like, I'm about to snap the ball to win the Super Bowl here, and I'm just this laid back Cali kid, like you said, who doesn't even get drafted?
Yeah, I mean, the Snow Bowl was one of those. It was a chip shot. After we kicked the long 48-yard one, the winner was a chip shot. And I had, about 5 college buddies in the stands, and they were blasted. They had about 100 beers before the game, and they're one of them shirtless. He's like, I'm taking my shirt off for all of overtime. And he drops it in the snow. So now he has a frozen shirt and he can't put it back on. So he's just purple in the stands. And all I can think about is them saying they're going to do snow angels in the parking lot after we beat the Raiders, who I hated as a Rams fan growing up. That was one of our nemesis. So I just, I'm like, this is chip shot. All I could think about was like, get the ball there and we're celebrating in the parking lot. And I ended up doing a snow angel in the end zone. But, it was really, we thought of it at home when these guys were partying. And I just wanted to leave and get out of the house and go sit in the locker room and be silent. And then the same thing in the Super Bowl was like, man, this is to win the Super Bowl. Just throw it at Ken Walters had a massive nose, and I could see this nose through his face mask. So it's like when all else fails, throw it right at his nose. And so like you'll see that snap. It wasn't over the ball. It was like right at his face because it was my fail safe. Just throw it at his nose, and we're champs because I know Adam's going to bang it through. And so we were so confident in our process. Snap, hold, kick, make the kick, big punt. And just we knew it was going in. Very rarely did Adam miss. I mean, we practiced in practice on skinny posts that were, probably 6 feet wide, 8 feet wide. So we aim small, miss small was kind of the motto.
Yeah. Yeah. And one last question to kind of link it back to this week, because you guys did this in 2001, you did it again in 2004, and that was go on the road to play in an AFC Championship game. The biggest home field game that you can have. You guys went into Pittsburgh twice and won both times. Was it a different mentality of going on the road? Did you guys take, that extra onus on yourselves of like, hey, it's us against the world? And do you think the Patriots are doing that this weekend?
I think so. What's got to give them confidence is they were undefeated on the road this year. So, they're a bit of a road warrior team. We all we need is their rally cry this year, which I love. One of those Steelers games, I think it was 2004, we had about 20 guys with the flu, and guys were just pumping meds in and IVs, and half of them didn't show up for the walkthrough the night before. And I remember Rodney Harrison, he had to take all this medicine, and the trainers were like, spread it out, you do it this time, and he took it all at once. And one of them, I think, was a sleeping pill. And so now he's like not just sick, but wanting to fall asleep. So, has to slam a Red Bull or whatever he did. And then it's like, now he balls out. Player of the game, picked to win the game.
Yeah.
Like, you kidding me? So guys just show up in these big moments. And when you're on the road, you go in these hostile environments, you really rally around each other. It's not about the fans. It's about, shutting them up. That's what turns the guys up is hearing a pin drop in that stadium after a big play.
Lonie Paxton, he played for both these teams, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots. How are you feeling about the Pats on Sunday? You got a prediction?
I'm feeling good. I think, I'm game-winning field goal or 21-17, like close one. The defenses are all good. We're going to play good against Stidham, and their team's going to play good against us. So we got to, it's going to be a defensive battle. I think the team with the most rhythm, hopefully the starting offense and Diggs and getting Mack back and all these kind of like playmakers, Hunter and Hooper and Booty. Like I feel like there's a rhythm there that we've had for a while. And the way Josh and Drake spread the ball around, you can't really just focus. You take one guy out, there's gonna be another one open. So hopefully we can stay in that rhythm, battle their good defense, score when we need to, and just not kill ourselves with penalties, long yardage, turnovers. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. So if we can cancel those things out, I think we got a good shot.
Gosh, it would be a really Lonie Paxton special if they win on a game-winning field goal in a year they drafted a long snapper.
I love Snappy. Yeah, that's
that?
my boy.
Lonie, really appreciate you taking the time today, helping us break this thing down, and some great stories in there too. Really appreciate it. And I mean, let's go Pats, right?
Let's go Pats, baby. We got this.
Let's go. There he goes. Lonie Paxton, 3-time Super Bowl champion, all dynasty team member for the New England Patriots, and one heck of a storyteller too. Let us know what you think. If you've got a prediction, hopefully it's like Lonie. I'll take a game-winning field goal on the road. That'd be awesome. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you live on YouTube every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then available wherever you get your podcasts as well. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio right here on the Wicked Boston Show. When we come back, it's time to get in the nitty-gritty in terms of our 3 keys to the game. What do the Patriots need to do in order to head off to Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60? That is next on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart.
At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
But boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. us.muc-off.com.
The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
Back here on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart. How about that with Lonie Paxton, man? That was awesome. That's a Patriots legend right there. 3-time champ. Can take you into the locker room for those stories. Great stuff on Vrabel, on Belichick. And, I mean, you know, it kind of goes without saying when you say 3-time Super Bowl champ, but it's a guy who's been there and done that. Like, he knows how these teams are preparing. Like, he knows what the mentality is going into a game like this. So that was just invaluable insight, man. That was just so awesome to get a Patriots legend from my youth. I hope the guy who's wearing his number now has a better week. That would be Will Campbell wearing number 66. But I could still ingrained in my mind some of my earliest sports memories. Lonie Paxton after the Snow Bowl kicks, doing the Snow Angels in the actual snow, and then in the dome in New Orleans, he's doing the same thing after Vinatieri kicks it through. Just awesome stuff. So really appreciate that from Lonie, man. That was great. How about that Belichick impression too? That was good. That was good. Lonie, what position do you play? That's awesome. Looking ahead, let's do it, man. Let's do it. It is the AFC Championship edition. We have talked about this game all week, man. We've gone through seemingly everything. It is time for these guys to actually play. Drake Maye versus Jarrett Stidham, Broncos, Patriots. Let's go over the 3 keys to victory for the Patriots to march on to Santa Clara and play for the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60. They need to win this one in order to win that one. I know, it's crazy. Key number 1. Attack from under center. This is something that Drake Maye has actually really liked to do this year. He's mentioned that about his kind of transition to the NFL from last year. And of course, his first full season this year was a lot of work under center, what that's done for his game and how he can read defenses. And that is a way that you can attack this vaunted Broncos defense. And this is a very good Broncos defense. The Bills last week had a 55% success rate on their 38 dropbacks when they were coming from under center. And on top of that, they ran the ball really well. It led to some play action stuff, which I'll talk about in a minute. But, you know, they got 183 rushing yards. It was not the reason they lost the game. They really controlled that line of scrimmage. James Cook was excellent once again. And they outgained Denver by 113 yards on the ground. If the Patriots can run the ball and establish the run the way, not even all the way like the Bills did, that is going to open up so much for them and so much for Drake Maye. Obviously, Ramondre Stevenson has been just awesome the last few weeks. Like, he's been their best weapon offensively the last 4 or 5 weeks, probably since the bye, I would say, which came around the same time as Denver's in the middle of December. So I'm curious to see what kind of game Ramondre has, because I think there are going to be some opportunities to run the ball, like power running. This is a Broncos line that is obviously terrific at getting to the passer, and they have so many guys up and down the lineup that can get after the quarterback. And because of that, they're fairly light. So you can run the ball against them. That said, Ramondre is going to need to be in there a lot for his pass blocking. He's a much better pass blocker than Travion Henderson is. So maybe we see Travion with some plays off tackle, getting to the edge, getting to the outside, and can bust off some long ones like he has a couple of times this year. you may really need Travion Henderson's big playability, which has not shown up in the playoffs. But the big thing of going under center is and running the ball is what it can do for your play action game. Now, Drake Maye is not one of those quarterbacks who needs play action to be really effective. In fact, he's pretty much, from what we've seen this year, scheme independent. He doesn't need a bunch of play action. He doesn't need these kinds of looks, doesn't need a defense that exclusively plays man or exclusively plays zone. He kind of takes apart all of them. But where he was really effective in his first year, and that obviously carried over into 2025, was in play action. That can open up quite a bit. And Buffalo really exploited Denver last week in the play action. 11 yards per play on the play action pass, and Josh Allen was 9 of 11 on those plays. And where I think it really fits into a Josh McDaniels offense, a Patriots offense, is play action and going to the tight ends. It's something that the Patriots have kind of waxed and waned with this year. They have not been a great team, not been a great offense in the red zone. That's where the tight ends can really help you, especially on play action. Again, going back to last week's game, Denver did not do a good job covering the tight ends. Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I got their names right on the first try. Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid went for a combined 115 yards and a touchdown. So that has been a position the Broncos have had some struggles with, guarding the tight end this year, and specifically in the last couple of weeks. And by the way, again, this Broncos defense is legit. It's top 5 in the league, but there has been some leakage in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to talk about that in our next point. Point number 2, get the ball out quickly. It's not something the Patriots have done all the time this year, but it is something they are effective at. But where we start with this is not even with Drake Maye. It's with Will Campbell, the guy wearing Lonie Paxton's number 66. I think Will Campbell is going to have a good, productive career at left tackle for the Patriots, based on what we've seen for the whole of this season. But this is going to be another week where he's going to look hurt like he has the last couple. And part of that is, yes, that he's going up against an elite, probably the best pass rush in all of the NFL. And he's done that 2 weeks in a row, basically, with Houston and now with Denver. It was tough against Khalil Mack. It was really tough against Will Anderson, but this is going to be just as brutal this week with Nick Bonito in there. And not just Nick Bonito, but so many guys, again, that Denver can send after the quarterback and really effectively rush the passer with. Basically, what I'm saying there, you're not going to win those battles. Will Campbell is not going to win those battles. It hasn't been the factor so far, because I think Will Anderson had a great game last week for the Texans. And I think the Texans defense played really well. The Patriots just also beat them. And Drake has been sacked 4+ times in each of the last 2 weeks. In fact, if you want to go back even further, he's been sacked 4+ times in a game, 6 different times this year. And the Patriots are 6-0. And in 5 of those 6 games, Drake Maye has 100+ rating. So I'm not saying that the pass rush is no problem. Clearly that's not the case, but there is a way for the Patriots to minimize that. And with that, it's going to minimize their turnovers too, because all but one of Drake Maye's fumbles this postseason has been from just simply hanging onto the ball too long, not putting the ball necessarily in harm's way or trying to make something out of nothing, just holding on to it too long. And it doesn't really matter at that rate if it's his fault or if it's Will Campbell's fault. Drake Maye's got to recognize the time he has, even if it's no time at all. So the big number to look at for this game is 2.5 seconds. Now, my fiance says that's a really long time. Okay. But 2.5 seconds is going to be the key number in this game. This is a great stat. According to Andrew Callahan, the Broncos are 18th in EPA against when the ball gets out in under 2.5 seconds. They are 3rd in the league when it takes more than 2.5 seconds. So that is a huge drop off in terms of their effectiveness just by doing something as simple as getting the ball out quickly. And I get it. It's easier said than done, but Josh McDaniels has made his career off of getting the ball out quickly. That was his whole offense. And the 3 or 4 different iterations of it under Tom Brady, they all had the same theme: get the ball out quick. And it's not something they do a ton of this year, but when they do it, it is pretty effective. Last week, for example, against the Texans, a defense that is very similar to this Broncos defense in terms of being able to cover one-on-one, getting after the quarterback better than anybody in the league. Against the Texans, Drake Maye was 7 of 10 for 48 yards and a touchdown on those quick passes that got out in under 2.5 seconds. Okay, super effective. Doesn't mean you're bulletproof, because they got one pressure on Drake in that time frame of 2.5 seconds, and they forced a strip sack. So, it's not completely foolproof, but it is a way to get your offense in a rhythm and kind of put this Broncos defense in a place where they're not comfortable. Because again, looking at last week, Josh Allen, who was at a year very similar to Drake Maye, they really struggled when Josh Allen got it out quickly. 12 of 14 for 134 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks when he got the ball out in under 2.5 seconds. And that tells me 2 things, right? Obviously, wicked good when he gets the ball out quick. And second, if you watch that game, you would say, oh, crap. So when you don't get the ball out quickly, the rest of it's a disaster, because he turned the ball over, 3 times when he did not get the ball out quickly. And again, looking back at this Broncos defense, it's obviously still legit. I'm not going to sit here and be like ESPN and tell you that they're not any good if the Patriots beat them. Okay. I'm not going to do that. But since their bye week in week 12, the Patriots have gotten much better in the time since their bye week. But since the Broncos bye week in week 12, they have faced really 3 quarterbacks that you can hold in the same conversation as Drake Maye. You had a game against the backup with the Chargers. Is it Trey Lance? I don't know. When Herbert was sitting, you had a game against like Geno Smith. But in the 3 games that you played against quarterbacks who are of the same ilk as Drake Maye, if not worse, right? Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, and the third one in there was, who was it? I should know this. Jordan Love with the Packers. In those games, they have given up over 30 points per game and nearly 400 yards of offense per game. And even when Josh Allen was turning the ball over like he's never has in the postseason, they still put up 30 points. It was still right there. They still had a good offensive day. So this could be the postseason breakout for Drake Maye. And if you want to blitz, go ahead. We know that you guys have a great pass rush, right? But Drake Maye against the blitz is like the best quarterback in the NFL. This year, 15 touchdowns, no picks, a 129 rating on over 9 yards per attempt when going against the blitz. And it's when he likes to take a shot as well. And I think you can take a shot or 2 against this Broncos defense, just like you could last week against the Houston Texans. Here's a fascinating matchup to watch. Whomever is lined up against Riley Moss for the Broncos. Riley Moss has seen more deep ball targets than any corner in the NFL this year. He has given up 341 yards and 3 touchdowns on 11 catches. Yikes, man. So Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams, a speedster who can get open downfield. One of these guys is going to have an opportunity against Riley Moss, and you know that Drake Maye takes the shots better than pretty much anybody else in the league. So look out for that one. Key number 3, we're going to go a little masters of disguise here. Truth is, as much as we've heard all week, we don't know about Jarrett Stidham in 2026. We don't know what the scheme is, what the game plan is. We don't know how effective he's been on the scout team. Probably not as good as Drake Maye is, contrary to what John Franklin Myers was saying. But we don't truly know what he can do. The Patriots have gotten here with their defense so far. If they can disguise looks and really confuse Jarrett Stidham, that is going to be the best defense that they have. Okay, we know he has a good arm, can run the hell out of a scout team. So that tells me that he's likely not a starting quarterback because he doesn't read defenses quick enough. Right? If you've got arm talent and you can get out of the pocket a little bit, not like Bo Nix, but a little bit, then it's a wonder why you're not a starter in this league. It's probably because you're not breaking down defenses well enough or quickly enough. That's where Zach Core can really get in his bag. Disguising looks, dropping guys into coverages, disguising blitzes. I think that is where a lot of pre-snap motion defensively is what's going to really hamper Jarrett Stidham as he's about to snap the ball. So this feels like a game where you can just throw a ton at him and he makes mistakes. What we do know about his time in the NFL is he takes way, way, way more sacks than Bo Nix does, like 5% rate increase for Stidham versus Bo Nix. And his touchdown to interception ratio for his career, his illustrious career, is 1-to-1. So he puts the ball in harm's way as well. But this comes down to more disguising, I think, than pressures. He's obviously not a great quarterback under pressure. He's not a great quarterback in anything. But with this Denver offensive line, I don't know how much pressure you're getting unless you get pretty exotic. And maybe that's where Josh McDaniels can help out the defense a little bit, knowing what Jarrett's strengths and weaknesses are. But he is turnover prone. And that could well be the difference in the game, especially if your offense is going to turn it over the way they have the last couple of weeks. It's just like the last two games, man. It's nothing special in this sense. It's probably not going to be very high scoring. There's going to be, huge field position battles in this one. So if you can force Jarrett Stidham into mistakes rather than giving him all day to pick a defense apart, because that can happen to any NFL quarterback if you have enough time, that's going to be the major difference in the game. I do think the Patriots are going to do enough to win it. I don't think they have enough to win it. I know that, but I think they are going to win it. It's going to be a little bit more high scoring, I guess, than the last couple of weeks. I am going to go with the Patriots. I'm going to go 24-16, which is not as high scoring as last week, but 24-16, 24-13, 27-13, somewhere around there. I think they're going to have their opportunities to take shots. And therefore, I'm hoping and predicting that by the next time we talk, we'll be previewing the Patriots in the Super Bowl, which I did not think we'd be doing on the Wicked Boston show at the beginning of this season. But let's just take it for what it is now. They're playing in the AFC Championship. It is good to be back in this position as a Patriots fan. Our long years of suffering are over. Somewhere, a Jets fan is losing his mind right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your keys to victory? What is your score prediction? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you live on YouTube every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then we're available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio is right here on the Wicked Boston Show. Shout out to all of you at Rogue Media. I hope you stay safe this weekend down in Texas, where the headquarters of this actually is. I come from Boston, but they do not have the road salt that we have up here. So really thinking about you guys this weekend. Thank you to Zach Burke for keeping us on the air. Thank you to Lonie Paxton for giving us some great insight today and some great stories. If you're watching live now and you missed it, check it out on the YouTube channel later today and check it out anyway. And thank you to you guys for tuning in. We will see you on Monday for another edition of the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stewart.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.